Are you thinking about moving country? Are you thinking about moving, say, from somewhere like Auckland to the Gold Coast? I mean, the Gold Coast is pretty flippin' awesome, I'll be honest with you. I am very biased, only because I've wanted to live here pretty much my whole life. Well, since I first discovered it. I'm just gonna park up over here, team. Just gonna find a good little spot to sit. So I've been thinking a lot about what I would do differently if I was to move to the Gold Coast again. I'll start by saying I did do it differently. So if you don't know my story, I'm a Kiwi. My wife, my 3 kids, and myself, we all moved to the Gold Coast back last year in January 2025. We were really blessed because my wife got a job. She's a school teacher. So to come over with a permanent job was just, man, it was just like a total answer to prayer. What would I have done differently? Well, the first 2 times I tried to move to Australia, once was in 2014, April 2014. The other was in, it's such a terrible time of the world, December 2021. So the first time we went, we were young. We had 2 young kids. I was newly self-employed, worked for myself as a creative. My wife's parents lived in Australia. They lived in a place called the Central Coast, and I was like working as a creative, wanted to build up my career as an illustrator, and I thought, what better place to go to than Sydney? I mean, Sydney's got heaps of money going around, it's got heaps of opportunity. It's kind of like one of those stepping stones, like if you were to step from Sydney, you'd go to New York or London, but if you're from Auckland, you would go to Sydney or Melbourne. For us, it's just like exotic and new and opportunity and bigger budgets and stuff like that. So what I would have done differently is I would have gone into it with a perspective that it's going to take a lot longer than I think. And I would have gone into it with a perspective that not everyone in my family, i.e. my wife, feels the same way I do, because she felt emotionally different to connections in New Zealand than what I felt. So for me, I was out the door once we got to Sydney. I was out the door pretty much every day, looking for work, networking, going to client briefs, doing freelance work, sitting on a train, in a way very preoccupied and busy, to the point where I was able to be distracted that we were in another country. But my wife was just doing the same thing that she did in New Zealand, which was we had a newborn baby, Roman. He was, at the time, wasn't even 1 when we moved. And Mexi, who was only 3, and she was coming up starting school soon. And so her days were different because she would have sleepless nights, she would be tired in the morning, she wouldn't have a group of mums, group of friends and stuff to go to, so her kind of day was very different to mine. And looking back, because we had committed to come back because I actually got a good job in New Zealand, we committed to come back to that and start our daughter in a school that we wanted to send her to, which is a totally fine thing to do, because it was as if like things were going our way, but in that direction back to Auckland. But in the 3 weeks leading up to leaving, we were packing our stuff down, packing up the house we were living in. I just had this like really hollow feeling that I could have just gone a bit harder and gone a little bit further and stayed a little bit longer. And it was like I'd done that first year of hard yards. We were just getting to Christmas and everyone was starting to get into a good Christmas kind of time of year. And here's me having to up and move my family twice in 1 year back to a country that I wasn't 100% sure about, but I was just trying to be very integral and say yes to coming back to this job that I'd said yes to going back for. And in the 2 weeks leading up to going back to New Zealand, I got this freelance offer that was just epic and paid so good. It was such a job I really, really wanted, working in a place called Monavale, which was like next to the beach. I was like, I would have such an epic way of life if I just stayed. So going back to New Zealand for that first year, or first 2 years, from 2015 and 2016, I had massive regret. I was kicking myself, just couldn't believe that I had just like given up my dream to move to Australia. So what I would have done differently there is I would have just committed to staying for 2 years and stayed longer. And if I wasn't able to get a job, get in Australia, just go. If that was one of my major needs, to support my family and get a job, I should have just gone and got any job that was enough to pay cheap as anything rent that we were paying. I'm talking like $450 a week, or I think it was $430 a week to have a 2-bedroom place just down the road from the beach. And looking at that, the perspective of that is just ridiculous. Imagine I paid that now. I feel like my mortgage here in the Gold Coast, you're paying like triple that. On the second time we went, it was a very emotional time for the world. You know, that kind of just 2020 through to 2022 was just a difficult time. We actually got on the last plane out of New Zealand, or out of Auckland, to fly to Brisbane, to a couple of weeks of hotel isolation before being set free into Australia, and we were staying on the Gold Coast. And it was a difficult time then because the world was upside down, and we had gone because I was self-employed, and it was a really helpful thing to be able to come to another country and stay with family and not be bleeding money trying to make it work. But we went back. I knew that I should have just taken my advice from previously and just taken a job, any old job, just to make it work, but I didn't. And I didn't have the confidence in myself, and I felt like I'd had my whole business taken away from me, and my career just felt like it was a shambles, and as a man I just felt useless to my family. And I went back with a job that didn't work out, but all good. I'm here now. I did it another couple of years later, so 2025 we came here, and because we not had failed twice, but we had done this thing twice before, I knew that we just had to get through 2 years and we would be good. And we were really blessed because our kids settled really quickly. We bought a house in the first 8 months of being here, or 7 months of being here. I got a job in the first 7 to 8 months of being here, which felt like an eternity when I was trying to get a job. I was feeling very rejected, but it's just life. And a year in your life is a blip, and doing something hard for a year is just a blip in your life, but it is memorable because it builds you to be bigger and stronger than what you could be. So if you can just decide, here it is, to do 1 year, and then coming up to the end of that year, decide to do another year. And in that first year, I really believe that everything would work out for you and it would all fall into place. So the first year is doing the hard yards to make it work, and the second year is doing the hard yards to keep it working. I reckon you can do this. So if you're keen to move to another country, whether it be from New Zealand to Australia like I did, you should just flip and do it. If it's in your heart, if you know you've got the capacity and the ability and you can lead your family, you can do it, just flip and do it, man. It's better than sitting on the couch wishing you'd done it and have met those guys there in their 50s and say, oh, I should have gone to Australia in my 20s, mate. Stuff that, honestly, just do it. All right, good chat.